what's so funny about that? Hello folks, sorry I'm late, 2 minutes past. Hope you're all good. All right, look at that, nice cue on the music. All right guys, Thursday. I see everyone's already busy in the chat. I hope everyone's doing good. I'm doing good, kind of, sort of. I'll tell you all about it. Not that there's really much to tell. Dude. Well, today we're drawing an old guy. By pose 3. My emotions to this end are described by pose 3 in today's selection. Okay, Lulu. These are some of the most interesting models that we can draw. Yeah, it's true. Margot's here, so the place that's got classier. Exactly, always. All right, guys. Sorry, just checking in, making sure there's no monkey business in the chat. I assume you can all hear and see me okay. Love the updated pics of Penny. Thanks, Margot. Yes. Love that dog. What can I say? It's, she's just a little star. Cool. All right. Let's get cracking, huh? Enough of me. There we go. And let's get the timer going. I think we're going to start with a... I don't want to spend too long on this pose. Let's go, we'll aim for a 15. You know how it goes. All right. Okay, let's draw. Now, which one is it? It's this one. There we go, timer's going. Shoulders. Center line. I'm just a casual, for lack of better words. Well, here's the thing, Lulu. You've come to a lot, for someone who's just a casual, you come to an awful lot of streams. So I think you may be selling yourself a little short. I guess we have to, I guess it really comes down to, you know, what's our motivations, and obviously everyone's are different. So That's fair. I just find, from a visual language point of view, sometimes, you know, the older or the less perfect models, for want of a better term, are sometimes some of the more interesting. They have history in their bodies, right? That's what I love about drawing, like people that are, you know, basically they have a story, right? Like, yeah, it's fun to draw the beautiful athletic models and all of that, but you know, you get such a sense, at least, of someone's story from just their physique, and I find that fascinating. The battle scars of life, and the fact that, you know, at least what society has deemed as beautiful is frankly rather fleeting, and maybe there's more to be seen and observed than society's idea of ideals, if that makes sense. Guys, not looking good, kids. I'm already rambling, and we've been going 2 minutes here. You're in for a rough ride, I'm afraid. Pictorial. Maybe it's something that comes with age, possibly. I like the conversation. I literally do not draw 80% of the time, and when I do, I draw ladies. I'm in the minority. The battle scars, as you call them, are worth drawing. Yeah, I think so. I would agree. We're hanging on for our lives. Pretty much, right? And it's really all so fleeting, isn't it? As I think some of you know, my music teacher passed away earlier this week. And I didn't meet him until he was 65, I think. And he lived to 92, which is a hell of a run, right? Like, you know, he wins, right? By every measure afforded to us. You make it to 93 with his mind intact. The guy was sharp as a tack till the day he died. And you could say he wins 100%. He wins life in so many ways. And yet, I think with his passing, I was still completely struck by the fleeting nature of our existence. And we get so little time, really, and I think it is harder when you're younger to kind of really get your head around it. But even if we're lucky, we make it to 85, let's say 90. It's just gone in the blink of an eye. It's interesting. And I'm not trying to get, I don't want to get, I don't want to turn the whole stream into something that's depressing or something like that. But I don't know. I think that when these things, we don't experience. Hopefully, we don't experience death every day, right? Especially people that are close to us. It comes around. But when you do, it can really knock you sideways and really just throw you into a state of kind of contemplation. And to ask yourself, and I think it's healthy to ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? Am I living a life well lived? Because I think we should strive to. I really do. I really don't think that we should squander this insane opportunity that the universe has afforded us. But there is nothing like the death of someone close to us to kind of put a lens up to that particular predicament. Anyway, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So, as I said, I don't want to bring the energy of the room down or anything, but yeah, there you go. Thank you for the condolences. Yeah, Jaeger, just for those, just for context for those, I'm sure some of you kind of connected the dots, but myself and Jaeger both studied this music, and you inevitably, especially living in Los Angeles and studying Hindustani classical music, if anyone that's done that, lived in LA and studied that music in the last 30 years, you've come in contact with this incredible musician who just passed away. It's funny. I kind of started studying. I won't say by accident, but it was almost like a chance meeting that I met him and saw him play. And that one meeting, and it was actually at his apartment, another music teacher brought me over there. And it was so interesting, like in the space of 30 minutes, watching him play this musical instrument in his living room, in his little apartment in Valencia in California, in Los Angeles. and it did quite literally change the course of my life. So yeah, the point being is, like, he was hugely influential on the scene, let's say, in LA for pretty much until about 2012-ish, I think, when he finally went back to India. There is a man worth having a conversation about at some point. He was practicing his instrument, and not only practicing, but performing on his instrument into his 90s. The last time I spoke to him, he was talking about performances that were coming up, and that he was going to be performing, and that he was still practicing. And even though he was widely, highly decorated individual in India, he had many titles bestowed upon him, and yet he still was not above having to practice his instrument. And he considered himself a student of the music and of his instrument, I think, until the day he died, probably. And that is something to aspire to. He had one of the most interesting minds of anyone I've ever met. It's the only way I can put it. It's like, well, firstly, he had a doctorate in English literature, and he spoke so beautifully. It was just an absolute, when he got on a roll, listening to him talk was an absolute joy, because the way he would construct a sentence and his use of English was so incredibly poetic in a way. He was a musician, so he had a tendency to, it's not even that he spoke in musical phrases or anything like that, but he spoke with a musical eloquence, if that makes sense. I don't know if that does make sense. Hopefully you get the general idea. But a lot about studying Indian music is, it's not just about, going for a lesson and walking away and then, going back a week later. It's very much a case of, you kind of immerse yourself in it, and there's this tradition of, you don't just have a lesson and then leave. Every single time I went to meet with this guy, we would have food afterwards, and inevitably a few drinks. So a single lesson could turn into a 4 or 5 hour event. And we would do that several times a week sometimes. And what you get something from that no school environment is ever going to give you. That's really where you get the magic, and that's where the treasures get unlocked. It's kind of when a lesson ends, so to speak. And I spent several years going to his house several times a week, studying, we'd take a lesson, and then, we would have these conversations. And yeah, he was just an absolute, he was a joy to listen to. He could be controversial, don't get me wrong. The guy was not devoid of some controversial opinions, and opinions that some people didn't care for. I don't know how conscious he was of that. I think he's a man that just went to the beat of his own drum. But yeah, you know, especially in this day and age, to be afforded the opportunity to study in that way, and to study with someone like that, really was quite special. So I guess, you know, the point is, I met him when I was 26, and I'm 52 now. So I've spent essentially my whole adult life knowing this person, you know? It's very strange him now suddenly being gone. Yeah. It's going to take a while, I think, to come to terms with that. Because he was, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, he's a teacher. He was kind of like, he was a constant, if that makes sense. And yeah, just been a very strange time. And he was the person I had hoped to go visit in India in January, and I didn't get a chance. I wasn't able to go. And so I'll never actually get to have seen him in India, which is such a shame. It would have been so nice. Anyway, it's my own fault. Should actually probably all right, what are we doing here? I think I'm just going to add a little bit of core shadow, and I'm going to call it on this one so we can keep this party moving forward. Sorry, I'm just checking out what you guys are saying. Sorry, I'm not going to respond to everyone, but I am reading and appreciating everything everyone's saying. If we don't occasionally contemplate our own mortality, we would be pretty damn stupid, wouldn't we? You know, I think I contemplate it almost every single day. Yeah, I would say. If I, you know, not in a morbid way, but I think about it often. I think probably most people do, right? To some degree or another. You'd have to be pretty tone deaf to go through life not giving it a thought from one week to the next. Thank you, Margot. Appreciate that. I heard someone say that we all die with things on our to-do list. No need to be neurotic about it, but it's good to do as many of those as we can. Yeah, but you know, well, like, you know, obviously after all we've just been talking about, I obviously agree with you, but is that the right way as well? Like, I don't know. Should we spend our whole lives in pursuit, just chasing? That feels kind of exhausting. I don't know what the answer is. I kind of like the idea of not doing that to some degree, but I don't think I'll be lucky enough to have that kind of peace of mind. space is not only for technical education, but for inspiration and thought and introspection. Thank you, Jeffrey. I hope so. That's nice. Why don't you show your reference photo? Judy, the members do have access to the reference photo. Oh, I guess someone's answering. Because, yeah, basically, if I show... YouTube doesn't like naked people. That's basically what it comes down to. You know, it's funny, Margot. You should say he sounds very inspiring. I'm grateful to be exposed to him just through you and Jaeger. Isn't that funny? It's funny that you should say that, because there are the majority of people in this stream will probably never even hear his music. And yet, I can guarantee you, anyone who's come to more than a single stream, you've been influenced by him. You just don't know it. Just by virtue of how much he influenced me. So yeah, that is an interesting kind of little thought experiment, isn't it? It's also, you know, I've talked a lot about the idea that I see almost no difference between the process of creating visual art and the process of creating music. For me, they come from almost the exact same place. In fact, it is the same place, just a slightly shift of skill set, right? Or you use a different set of tools from the toolbox, but they're all in the same toolbox, essentially. In fact, they're even the same tools. The only thing that's really changing is the mechanics of how you're using them, if that makes sense. But yeah, everyone that's influenced by the art is influenced by the music. They just don't know it. It's interesting. That commitment to practice itself is so cool. Well, Jaeger will tell you, and I think that, well, look, it's not like we're in some kind of unique club. But in Indian classical music, there is a massive emphasis put on the process of being in practice. And practice for practice sake, not necessarily even with a goal in mind. And you know, I've talked about the idea of just drawing for the sake of the process, forgetting the idea of there being a end result. That all comes essentially from the study of Indian classical music. Thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? Absolutely. Let's do the next pose. Always the food and the whiskey. That's right, Jaeger. He did like single malt whiskey. And I'm going to throw him under the bus now, but what he loved, I think, about me was I was a little bit of the devil on his shoulder, because he had it so out of like the spiritual conversation of this, you know, everything I've just been saying, but he really enjoyed Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I was one of the few people that would actually, you know, after a lesson, I would take care of that for him, and it was almost like this forbidden little kick that we would both get, like getting him Kentucky Fried Chicken, and his partner Leslie, she would always get very frustrated with the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Understandably, it's not exactly good for you, but. He would always have this devilish little kind of grin about him when it had been decided that I would go and acquire that for him. Good times. Okay. The Indian weddings, yeah, apparently they do go on. I've never been to one, but never got that with my flute lessons. Of course, I was only a young teenager. Yeah, but you know what, Margot? I think it's not a way. It's a very Indian thing. It's ingrained into the culture, that form of teaching, because Indian classical music, just by definition, is a tradition passed on vocally. It's only through Western convention that there's been a written format for this music. It's a vocal tradition. And with that, I guess you could say that it has to come in time, and it takes time to teach, and it's a very different way, you know. What a gift for you to have known him. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Really kind of a once in a lifetime kind of person. You don't meet people like that, you know, very often, and I certainly wouldn't expect to meet someone like that again. I also don't think I'm in a place in my life where I would meet someone like that again, just because I'm not in a position at this point in my life to tune into that kind of energy again. And I think that's kind of required, right? Because it's a very time-consuming pursuit. You can't go into it casually. My wife always called herself a sarod widow. Sarod was the musical instrument that I played, but she always considered herself to be, you know, to be a sarod widow in many ways. Although she did love Rajiv as well, in fairness, but it takes a massive amount of commitment and dedication. It's not for the faint of heart. And I don't think I could, I don't think I could do it again. Don't want to. I don't think I want to. I don't want another teacher under those terms again. I wouldn't do it. That's for someone else. Toast to Guruji, absolutely. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it, man. No, awesome. So, thank you, Jeffrey. You're very kind, guys, really. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going here. Head of the humorous. Sorry, I'm way behind on the chat. Dedication to art and music is vert connected to contemplation for me too, says Janique. Yes, 100%. So, well, for me, you know, I'm a very restless person. It's probably why, to be honest with you, I've dabbled with like painting, for example, but I think I've come to the conclusion, I think I'm too restless to be a painter, because the process requires a to work at a speed that I just get too impatient with. It's one of the reasons why I think that this particular form of figure drawing works for me. Is because, you know, the results are rather immediate, right? And like you guys know, we just simply don't. Have we spent more than half an hour ever on a drawing? I'm not sure if we have, maybe a couple of times, but I like that immediacy. And I think it comes back to the same type of immediacy of playing music as opposed to creating art, which is A, solitary, and B, you know, painting kind of happens in slow motion, right? If you think about it. Whereas what we're doing here, I feel, is much closer to something like musical performance, right? In a way, if that makes sense. So I guess my point is, I've always been way too restless for things like meditation, but I do think that, at least in my experience, this is a pretty good substitute for it. And practicing music is, for me, an incredibly kind of just rewarding experience. Like, you know, some people hate the idea of practice, right? I've always loved practice. I've always relished in the idea of taking a single, you know, however many notes, so it could be 10, 20, 30 notes, but taking a phrase, a small passage, and repeating that over and over and over and over and over and over again. I actually get in that zone quite comfortably, and I really enjoy that process. Yeah, it's not for everyone, but I've always been very comfortable with it. And I do think that what we're doing here, and it does give you an opportunity. It's quite contemplative, isn't it? So yeah, it's. I think art and music can be both of those things. And as I said, the more I do both, the less distinction I can make between them as art forms. I feel like they merge. Use the same part of my brain when playing music as I do when I'm drawing. There's nothing really that changes, as I said, other than maybe the use of tools slightly. Anyway. I think that's a better place for that line. I'll have to clean that up in the end. Our minds are thirsty, says Jeffrey. We must balance how many wells we drink from. We should take time to enjoy where we are, but not become stagnant and stale. You make a very good point, and actually, you know, it brings up another point, if I may. Once again, apologies for the slight bit of rambling that's going on today, but I spent a large portion of my life kind of in a weird kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, put it this way: I spent a lot of my life always kind of in an angst about the fact that when I was drawing, I felt like I should be practicing music, and when I was playing music, I felt like I should be drawing. And it turns out it was a needless worry, because I was doing both all the time anyway. So yeah, like, we do need to balance how many wells we drink from, because I was always concerned that I was spreading myself too thin. But in actual fact, I think that the music informed the art, and the art informed the music. So it was actually a good balance. Where the thing I kind of, the debate I had, the internal debate I have now is, you know, coming back to that thing of, you know, I've put all of this work into figurative work and this drawing and all the rest. I should be painting, right? There's an instinct in me that says the logical evolution of this process is that you go to painting. But I think that recently I'm just starting to realize that maybe that's not what I need to do. Maybe I've been doing it okay with the way I've been doing it, and I should just continue to do what I'm doing. So yeah, it's interesting. KFC over Popeyes. Now I'm having my doubts. I've literally never had Popeyes. I have no idea what that is. I know what it is. But I've never had it. KFC even in India. Nice. I used to sneak candy bars to Grandma in the nursing home. Well, you know what I did? I sneaked Bacardi into the nursing home for my mum, and it's probably one of the best things I ever did. She was like, I only did it once. It's not like, you know, I was bringing in liters or anything. I literally brought in enough for a drink, and she was so happy. It made her day. Absolutely made her day. It's okay. It's all right. You know, we can bend the rules. Good to have your puppy to remind you the cycle continues. No kidding, Lucas. I actually, even that, so that has been food for thought as well. And, you know, not that there's really any comparison on many levels, but it does really bring home the fact that the universe is going to continue regardless, right? Because the universe doesn't care. Truth be told. Yes, it's a very interesting point. The original restaurant's 2 hours from you. We're getting into KFC conversation now. Nice. Eat, drink, and be happy. Could not agree more. Is it possible to listen to his music? Absolutely, Tina. Yeah, well, no, not on the stream. We'll get... You know what? No, we can't. We can't do it on the stream because I'll get flagged. But also, to be honest with you, under the spirit of what we're talking about, I would say to hell with that. I'll take the hit. But the reason that I'm not going to do it, Tina, is because I think that his music requires or deserves someone's attention in a full sense, not to be background music to me talking, if that makes sense. But I'll absolutely, you know what I'll do is I'll put a couple of links to some YouTube videos in the community chat. All right, I'll do that maybe in the morning, or later today or in the morning. I'll put a couple of YouTube links and you guys can watch and play. That might be a nice way for you to do it. Okay, where are we at? 15 minutes. Let's keep going here just for a few more. Not the... A little bit of tone. Let's get in a little bit of anatomy here. B graphite. Nice, Rick. Yeah, I would say that will work pretty nicely. Sorry, I'm just catching up here with you guys. Okay, you making an interesting point, Lulu, which I want to have an opinion on. If I'm not wrong, I believe not the practice, but using the skill 100%, like in flow state, is the meditative part. You learn nothing in flow. You simply enact every bit of the skill that you have in reserve. The thing that you learn in flow is how to be in flow, is how to recognize when you're in flow, and then how to get the hell out of your own way. And that is something that so that I think you can learn in flow, but I agree with everything else that you're saying. 100%. Do you want to paint? Just ask. Simple, not easy. Hard skill. I'm having lots of trouble with it too. You see, I can kind of paint. Here's the thing, I've done enough painting to know that if I dedicated myself to painting, I could paint. I'm not, without sounding arrogant or whatever. It's a fact, right? If I dedicated myself to it, but it would require daily focus and practice. And I don't know if I want to paint badly enough, because I think I want to play music and draw more than I want to paint. So it's a very good question, and I think I've already answered it. You know what, my mom, yeah, she look, she wasn't able to communicate that well, but the smile on her face from that Bacardi was something else. Getting out of your own way and flow, yeah, Lulu, look, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Because here's the thing, I think sometimes the more that the more times you get in flow, the easier it is to get in flow. Does that make sense? So if you can recognize being in a state of flow, it's a skill that you can, yeah, it's definitely a skill that you can fine tune, in my opinion. And so if you recognize it and you know how to help it along, so to speak, then you can spend more time in that space. in a more controlled way, which you could say it feels like that's a counterproductive thing to say about flow, but it's not. What you can actually, being in flow, in my opinion, or at least what I'm considering flow, is you can learn to massage the ideas that come about in that flow state. Interesting stuff. All right. I feel like this is probably as good a place as any to call it with this drawing. It's flow when you lose a sense of time while drawing. Janik, I would say that is one sign of flow. I don't think it's the only sense. Yeah, you certainly time can get, time can fly in flow state. But it's not the only thing. But it's an indicator possibly that you're in that space. Okay, let's move on to the next pose. I've not yet hit a state that I could call flow. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I don't want to put too much weight on it, Jeffrey, or give it a sense of mysticism, because I'm not a big fan of that type of thing. It's kind of a sense, like people talk about a runner's high. I think maybe it's similar to that, although it's slightly different, because I think runner's high really happens. You can get into a flow state running. Absolutely, you can. But yeah, it's yeah, what can I say? It is what it is. If you want a math flow, it's when challenge with skill level match. It's when, yeah, we talked about this before. I think you used that analogy before, right? And I do agree. The thing is, I think also flow can happen when you're just outside of your comfort zone. I don't think you necessarily have to be in your comfort zone. I think you can sometimes achieve it, and sometimes what can be really interesting is to find that space where you're just out of your comfort zone, right? And it may be easier to achieve on some level with music. When they say find that comfortable speed to practice something. just push that speed 5–10% out of what's comfortable and stay there. Well, I've said it 1,000 times on there. You know, it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel here with ideas, but you know, the idea of getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I think, is a necessary state for learning, and I think it's also probably a necessary state to develop and level up and potentially find what we're calling this mystical flow. Yeah, something like that. You know, Jeffrey, I think it's about getting to a point. Okay, this is maybe not a perfectly clean analogy for flow, but let me just throw an idea out there. Hold on, what was I going to say? Actually, I think that's good. I've literally just lost my train of thought. Talk about flow. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, they'll come back to me. I'm just rereading your comment to see if it jogs my memory now. You see, I was in flow state with the conversation, and now it's gone. Seriously, that's exactly what just happened. My flow state in the conversation just went poof. I don't remember what I was going to say. That's so frustrating. You know how these things work. In a minute or 2 minutes from now, I'll be talking about something else and it'll come back to me, hopefully. Or it won't, and it'll be lost. And you know what? A little nugget will be gone, but hopefully it'll come back another time. I think part of it is like, here's okay. I think maybe we overthink this stuff. When you're driving your car, you're in flow state with your car. You're not thinking about the mechanics of driving, right? You've done it so much, it's so hardwired that you're not thinking indicator, brake. You know that feeling like when you've driven for 30 miles and you go, was I even paying attention for the last 30 miles to the road? Because you feel like, oh, was I even watching where I was going? You know, you're not inebriated or anything like that, but like you know that feeling. That's kind of like flow, right? Because it's so automatic, it's so hardwired that you just do. You don't think, you just do. You take that 40 years of driving your car and you just do it. And if you can get to that level with your chosen skill or discipline, whatever it might be, whether it's art, music, or language, or mathematics, it doesn't matter, then that's where you find flow. Where you okay, I remember what I was going to say here. Imagine you're learning violin, right? Day one. You've got the violin and you've got a bow. And you've got to hold the violin under your chin and it feels awkward, and you've got this fingerboard for your fingers, but it's fretless, and you've got to try and put your fingers on the right place and hold it, and you've got to hold the bow at a particular angle. What you're trying to do is create music, but you're spending all of your energy on the technical aspect of what it is that you're doing, right? Holding the bow, holding the violin. The music is an afterthought at this point. You're so focused on the technical that the thing that you actually came to do takes a back seat. And it's about getting to that point where the technical is now on the back seat and you can focus purely on the process and the art of creating music. And I think that's where you'll find flow state. As long as you're down in the ditch with, am I holding the bow correctly, and is my fingering in the right place on the fingerboard and that type of thing, you're still working your way up, right? Your mind is busy with other things. You're not going to find flow in that state. That's how I kind of think about it. Does that make sense? I think it does make sense. How did I get home from work? I don't remember. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it, right? And then the most unholy sound leaves the violin at the expense of the blood is no longer within the vessels surrounding your own ear. Look, that's the thing, isn't it? And you can spend, here's the thing, you could potentially spend weeks in that space of discomfort in the process of trying to create art or music. And a lot of people can't handle being in that space for long enough to find progress. And that's a shame. I've said before, and I do believe, and I maintain, we're going to hit the next pose now, by the way, Lulu's favorite pose. What was I going to say? It's gone again. And I was just going to, I did literally just say I do believe, and it's gone. Anyway, it'll come back. But you know, this is, yeah, you know, like people, like I've said before, but like when we talk about people hitting walls, or and not physically, I mean just metaphorical or psychological walls. You know, writer's block, artist block, this type of thing. Huge amount of progress can happen in those first few weeks or days of playing an instrument or whatever. But when you hit that first wall, that's when you know, we lose the most people from any discipline, whether it's drawing or whatever it might be. If you can get past that, then you can really, you know, hopefully make progress. I tell you, this is something I wasn't really planning on talking about, but now we're here. I think I've just very recently, in fact, in the last few weeks, I feel like I hit one of those walls that we talk about. And I had to kind of take my own advice. It's not whether it will happen, it's how you decide to react to it. And those words did ring in my own head, and it was like, okay, tough guy, you know, practice what you preach. And so I've been trying to kind of, you know, reconcile with that and figure out how do I want to react to it. Because I feel like I've been getting away with playing with house money for a while. I haven't had one of those blocks in a long time. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to be confronted with it. But once again, just as I've said to others, and I have to kind of take my own advice, you just got to show up, find some way to kind of find countermeasures for it. You know, like one of the reasons why I wanted to start making the Monday session about something other than just figure drawing, you know, doing 2 figure drawing sessions a week. is a way to try and work through it, you know, to try and bring something, to try and bring some challenge and interest in an area that, you know, maybe I'm not so comfortable. Because I do think one of the things I'm kind of up against is it's very easy for me to start getting formulaic with my figure drawing, because I know, once again, it's almost like, because I know the language that I want to use to describe something, it doesn't force me to seek new ideas, if that makes sense. So you have to make a conscious effort to look for new ideas, and that's not always easy. So yeah, it's anyway. There you go. But isn't it interesting how, you know, we can be talking about flow state and artist block or writer's block in the same breath, and somehow they're both connected, they're both relevant to each other, they both almost kind of like need each other, if that makes sense. Maybe there is no flow state without its opposite, the artist block, or whatever we want to call it. It's fascinating, really. Flow is about enacting a skill when it's been offloaded to automatic parts of one's mind. Yeah, 100%. And you just enjoy the ride. You know, that's if you, yeah, hopefully that's what that. You know, it comes back to that idea that, you know, people talk about being just kind of a spectator, you know, kind of almost watching yourself. I don't want to use the term out-of-body experience, but kind of something along those lines, where you're literally observing yourself doing something and it's requiring no effort on your part. You know, we talk about the idea of showing up, right? And just not waiting for things to be ideal or perfect, and trying to take kind of like the professional mindset of almost just not having a choice and just showing up and getting the job done. It's funny because I had a hell of a day, guys. We have construction going on. Long story short, I live out quite somewhat rural, not crazy rural, but you know, the closest house on that side is about a quarter of a mile away, and it used to be a quarter of a mile in the other direction, but someone sold the land right next to us, and they're building 9 houses there. And so for the last year, there's been construction noise, right? During the day. Luckily, they normally kick off just before we start the stream, so you guys have probably never really heard it. But they've been building an entrance and excavating and building an entrance to these 9 houses literally right next to my office, behind the wall that you can see there behind you. And the noise in this room has been so absolutely insane, not just today, but like over the course of the last few days, but just generally the noise level has just amped up and amped up and amped up. And today was so bad and so stressful, and I ended up getting into it with the foreman of the building site about our access, which got cut off to the main road, which is right behind me here. And I had them, like, honestly, at 20 to 5 this evening, I was not sure if I was even going to be able to do this stream. I was so stressed and just frankly kind of just feeling depressed from the noise and just the complete inability to get anything done with it being so loud and so obnoxious. And it was really a case of, comes back to once again what we talk about often, which is you got to show up, right? Like it would have been so easy, well it wouldn't, and maybe this is why I didn't, but it would have been so easy for me to cancel today's stream and just say, guys, I can't make it today. And trust me, there was an internal debate going on for an hour before the stream started about whether I was going to do that, because I didn't think I would be fit for anything, much less having such an enjoyable conversation with you folks. But it was like a case of, look, show up. You got to show up. You know, even if it ends up not being great, you got to show up. And it kind of comes back to what we're talking about, right? Full circle. You're not going to necessarily be able to wait for all the conditions to be ideal to do what needs to be done. So yeah, so there you go. Long enough to find progress, being months to years, makes it understandable why folk give up before said progress. No, I don't agree, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that you need to, well, look, it's not that I don't agree, but I think there's another way that you can look at it, or another way that you can frame it, is that you have to change your expectations about what you expect to achieve within a given time. And a good teacher will help guide that expectation as much as anything else. Yes, you're not going to be first violin after 6 months of playing, and you can't. And if you go in on day one going, well, I'm a quick study, I'll get it. You need a teacher to say you need to chill out. This is going to be the reality of where you're probably going to be 6 months from now. Yes, it changes from person to person, but generally speaking. So I don't think it is understandable. Look, it's understandable in one sense why people give things up, because people give up things all the time. But I think that's kind of part of the learning how to learn, right? That we've talked about before. And if you have developed that skill in any meaningful way, you'll understand that part of that learning how to learn requires there to be periods of less activity or less development and growth, or what seems like or will present itself as a lack of growth when we plateau, that we've talked about. I see plateauing as a very important and very good sign that we are growing, right? Once again, how do we want to frame it? Because you can look at a plateau and go, okay, this is as good as I'm going to be at this particular thing. Or you can look at it as, oh no, this is actually awesome, because this means that the next stage of development is waiting for me around the corner. I would rather think of it in those terms, right? Because then that leaves the door open for more growth. So would experimenting with painting be a way to find those new ideas? Well, Doug, it's a good question. And they could very well be. And if you're referring to my situation, yes, that could be one remedy. The problem, at least for me, is painting is incredibly time-consuming as a pursuit. And as we go back to the conversation earlier, I've just got other things that are more important to me right now, as far as skills I want to develop and things I want to refine and get better at. And I can't justify the amount of time that exploring that particular skill set would take. And coming back to also what Lulu said is, do I actually want to be a painter? I'd rather be a musician. Or I'd rather play music. Don't know if I can call myself a musician, but... So it's a trade-off, right? But yes, absolutely. And I think that, for someone that had artist block and was looking for a way to shake it up, that could be a very good way to do just that. That would let you give yourself permission to paint occasionally. Yeah. No, sorry, I'm just catching on with your comment now. But it comes back to the thing of time. Because here's the other thing. I've studied enough things to know roughly what the timeline is going to look like to get competent, right? Like, yes, I don't consider myself a great painter, but I kind of know what that trajectory, as someone who's acquired different skills in different areas, I got a sense of how long it takes me to develop a skill set, let's say, generally speaking. And it's not something that I want to. I guess what I need is I need a few more lifetimes. I would rather get good at other things that I know that for sure and for certain I want to be good at. So does the world need another average painter? I don't know. Anyway. First rule of flow state, you don't talk about flow state. Rick knows what's up. Can he see chat? Who, Shane? Can I see chat? I can see chat. Well, tell him to give that man an anaconda. This man is wearing trunks, Shane, and if you by anaconda you mean his genitalia, well, they are behind his trunks. And once again, I have to be very careful about what I draw on camera. Even if, in this case, we could see that stuff, I don't necessarily want to draw it because I don't necessarily want to get any more demonetized by YouTube than I already am. Okay? So that's why I tend to draw Ken and Barbies on the stream. Okay? YouTube hates snakes, exactly. Great, Amaris, I'm glad to hear it. That's wonderful. My angle on this is I struggle to enjoy things, says Lulu, but I found that I get less enjoyment out of not doing anything than I would get even if I was enjoying something and something else ruined it. Well, look, I think better to do something and not do it well than to not do anything at all, right? Hate construction noise. Can you imagine having to do it as your day job? Yes, but you know what it is? Honestly, Margot, it's like watching people play pool. Much better to do than to watch, right? And I think the same with construction. If you're the one making the noise, your tolerance for it is far different, because you know when the noise is also going to stop. Far different than being at the mercy of the person making the noise, in my opinion. Ba-ba. I think you need your core thing to be good at, and your other interests should support that. And my core thing is drinking. I think, that's an interesting thing, because it comes back to this conversation about should you be a generalist or a specialist, right? And I hear students having this debate quite a lot about, going into, for example, like going into the animation industry and that, and it's like, should I be a generalist? Should I be a specialist? I think you do. I think ultimately you want to be good in a number of areas, but you want one thing that you're really good at. Kind of what you're saying, right? The one thing to support the others. Which would make a lot of sense if the other thing I was doing was also in visual art. Anyway. 25. Okay, so we have no real meaningful light and tone on this fella. I guess the light technically is coming from this direction, but I'm not really feeling it. I think I'm going to leave it. I'm kind of done with this pose. The construction people might even be in flow. They might be. I was not. This post describes my default emotional state quite well. Yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on this one. Not very happy with it at all. Anyway, it's fine. It's what it is. All right. Well, how many poses do we have left? And we got 30 minutes. I'd like to try and get out of here on time today. We've got 3 left. All right, we're going to do 3 10s. We'll still go over because that's what happens, but you know. Or do we want to do a 15? Oof, that second to last pose is nasty. 15? Or 3 10s? Or 15 and 2 5s? Well, that math doesn't add up, but you know what I mean. All right, let's just start drawing. You guys can weigh in. Okay. The longer the better. All right, well let's go for we'll go for a 15 on this next one, and then we'll do 2 shorter ones maybe at the end. All right, reset the clock. There's a surprising amount of movement in this pose. More than you might think on first blush. We talked about doing heads and faces. Is that possible in the future? Yeah, we started that conversation on Monday, Joyce, where we did the first head session. Don't know if you were there. We worked from sculpture. We did like 3 poses. because I feel it's a good place to start with that whole conversation, is starting with sculpture. So we did, and we will do again, for sure. Maybe next week. Yeah, I enjoyed doing those heads. It was a bit of fun. Deltoid, brachioradialis. Will we be drawing more of that slappable shiny head? Well, for that comment, yes, we will. Well, which slappable shiny head? There was a couple. The beard dude. Yeah, we got a couple more poses of him. We should do another one of those, huh? Am I to take it that you liked drawing him, Lulu, or no? It was rather difficult to describe the facial features and not have them blend with the form of the beard. I agree. My one issue with that sculpt is what can only be described as its low resolution. And I do think that was an issue with that particular one. Would be nice to find something similar with a higher resolution, or the same sculpt with a higher resolution. maybe that's an option. Where are we at? 7 minutes, okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to 15 on this one. And then we'll do like 2 5-minute poses to wrap things up. Because truth be told, I can really feel my mental bandwidth diminishing quickly. I can tell, just I can tell in the drawing. So yeah, rather than flog the dead horse, so to speak. But thank you, Gerson. Quintanilla, what a lovely name. Thank you so much for the support, much appreciated. After we're done with heads, we should do hands, question mark. Well, once again, we did one hand session, didn't we? And I do think that we should, you know, probably do some more hands. Because, you know, I don't think any of us walked away from that necessarily saying, okay, I've got hands mastered, I no longer need to do them. If you did, then fair dues. He's holding this stick, it's coming down this way, boom. Coming out there. Something like that. Rick, earplug fund. Good man, thank you. I do have earplugs. You know, you would think that that would just be the easy solution, to just put in my noise cancelling headphones. But you know, hour after hour after hour after hour, just exhausting. What do we want to do with the light and tone on this sucker? You know what? I think that's as good a place as any to stop this drawing. Was walking near a slow-going renovation where they were wailing on a wall with a hammer for a few minutes ago. I could swing it, they just kind of let me. Exhausted after 5 minutes, yes. You know, there are certain things that you look at and you go, I could do that. And then you give it a go. And within 30 seconds of starting, you're like, you've got the regret. That's like one of those. You know, you'll be like hiking or something, you'll see a hill, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just run up that one. Yeah, good luck with that. Donald Sutherland died. Well, he must have been getting on a bit, huh? Haven't heard or seen a paper of Donald Sutherland in as long as I can remember, actually. So he's passed away. Well, there. How about that? All right. Actually, we're going to go to fives. What are your thoughts on the book Design and Invention by Michael Hampton, asks Gerson. I have never heard of that book. So I'm looking it up right now. Unless I have heard of it and I... Design and Invention, figure drawing by Michael Hampton. Oh, you know what? know. You know what? I don't. Now that I'm looking at it there, Gerson, I can see. I feel like I recognize it. I don't have an opinion on it. I have not seen it. I've not read it. At a glance, there's some principles look good. I don't necessarily, not a big fan of the mannequin kind of approach. Well, part of that approach. But I wouldn't want to cast judgment on this one way or the other without actually reading it. Interesting. It doesn't look like a million miles, like just what I'm looking at here, it doesn't look like it's a million miles from the stuff that we're doing here, as far as the process, for the most part. Seems to be from a similar school of thought. Where did he study? Where did he study? I can't tell. Yeah, I don't know. 88. I'm guessing you mean Donald Sutherland. All right. Well, it's not a terrible run. It's funny though, isn't it? In this day and age, you hear 88 and you go, not young, but not super old. That explains the exasperated groan. No, not really. Like, so no, so the groan. Don't read too much into the groan. I just don't. I don't know. I don't want to form an opinion on something I haven't. I don't have enough information on. Okay, so we've got 2 poses. We're going to do 2 5s. Told you we're not messing around. Okay, let's do it. The trick with this one is just trying to draw small enough for the page. I really should have went to my long board, but let's see if I can fit it all on here. Well, it's funny, isn't it? This, after what I was telling you earlier about my day and my expectations going into this stream, and it really has been turned out, at least from a conversation point of view, a lot better than I had imagined it would. So thank you all so much for that. So thanks, Gerson. The book is mostly known in the YouTube community, so I thought you might have an opinion. No, literally, like as I said, I think, you know, because I think there's a few of those books, and I think I've seen the covers before, but never delved inside them. You see, the thing is, Gerson, at the risk of sounding arrogant, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't sound arrogant, I don't know, but I am not in the buying art book business anymore, if you know what I mean. I feel like, for better or for worse, I'm kind of working with what I've got now, for the most part. It's not that I'm not open to learning more and acquiring, you know, new ways of thinking about things, and I'm certainly open to that. But I'm not really in the market for buying art books, if you know what I mean. And I'm also not in the market of pirating art books. So for me to see that book, it would have to be loaned to me, right? Something along those lines. And no one's loaned me the book. So, and I really don't like to cast judgment on something that I just simply don't know. And it's funny you should use this statement. It's mostly known in the YouTube community. I didn't know there was a YouTube community, if you'll pardon my ignorance. It's like, I am so out of touch with what's going on YouTube art-wise. I actually, when I get, you know, like I'm sure a lot of us do, I get art channel recommendations for obvious reasons all the time, and believe it or not, and I know this is going to sound really dumb, but here goes. I get whenever I see an art channel recommendation, I get anxiety, because I should be doing so much more with my channel than I am, and that's another story for another day. That I don't even want to see people that are doing it well. I don't want to be influenced by people. I don't want to subconsciously take someone else's idea, and also, as I said, I get, for want of a better term, I get intimidated by people that are doing their channels well, because I've got so much work to do with my channel that I'm not doing. That it gives me anxiety to see other art channels. So I'm constantly hitting the not interested, don't recommend this channel button, which is really unhealthy. But I've got so much anxiety about the things that I'm not doing on my channel that I'm very much a keep my head in the sand type of person right now when it comes to this. Like for actual just reach of normal videos, my channel is all but dead, for the most part, which doesn't exactly inspire me to create more content, to be honest. And the irony being is, I think the live streams have actually had a lot to do with that. You see, I drew off the edge of the page, didn't I? Why didn't I start this over here? Well, because I was going to draw his arm. Okay. Now I've lost out on this foot, and this arm feels like an afterthought and feels frankly a bit weird anyway, so. Some good philosophizing on here today. Thoughts to ponder. I think it's actually been very interesting, right? At least for me. To clarify, Richard, that thing on Twitch is a bot that advertises viewer bots. They pop up on channels under 10 viewers quite often. Yeah, we've got really no viewers on Twitch, but we continue to post there anyway. I also get that anxiety as a viewer. I should be watching these videos and learning art, but what am I doing? So it's not only at your end, Richard. Thanks. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. You're doing great, don't worry. Thanks, Jack. The reality is the channel's not doing great, but I appreciate the sentiment. I have... Yeah, because of the, once again, the figure drawing thing, which is weird because YouTube decided to propel my figure drawing fundamentals video to, you know, top ranking. And then consequently, every time I put out a new video, they demonetized me for nudity. So I'm not really kind of sure. YouTube is sending me a mixed message, frankly. But the one thing that they want me to do, they also want to penalize me for, so I'm not really sure how to move forward. And I also don't really, because, you know, creating videos takes a lot of energy, a lot of time to prep and plan, etc. And to do that, and then a video to sit there basically getting no viewers it's not exactly incentive to create more content. So it's kind of on YouTube. One of the reasons why I'm not putting out a lot of content is because they don't. If they're not going to promote it, then why should I go to the trouble of making it? Methinks. All right, we spent nearly 10 minutes on that pose, and it turned out rubbish. All right, we've got one last pose to do. We're going to do 3-minute pose, guys. I know I said a 5, but guess what? We're going to do a 3-minute pose, and then we're going to get out of here, and we're going to move into the weekend, shake off today and all the construction noise, and move on to the next session. Because there's always more drawing to be had. All right, 3 minutes. I thought it looked pretty good. Thanks, Marco. Yeah, nah, not into it. I think, you know, I lost my energy when I said earlier about time to call it. All my mental bandwidth went on art philosophizing, and yeah, that's what happened. By the way, you don't need to do it now, but I need... Okay, so Lulu, I'm going to ask Lulu to do this, just so that there's not a bunch of you doing this. I received a delightful comment on my figure drawing fundamentals video from someone saying that they could not add that video to their favorites, and consequently they weren't going to sub, which they're going to punish me by not subbing because they can't add it to favorites, which I really don't care about whether they want to sub or not. But can you do me a favor? Can you see if you can add that video to your favorites, Because if you can't, it kind of begs a more important question of why not. And if not, then I will try and remedy it, because I couldn't see anything in the settings on why you wouldn't. I don't think I can even turn that off. I don't think I have the ability to turn off someone being able to save something. So do me a favor, would you, Lulu, when you have a moment? Try to do that and see what happens. You don't need to keep it in your favorites, get rid of it, but you know, I'd appreciate that. Because it's kind of like, you know, this, you know, sometimes people will have issues finding the, not finding the subscribe, well, yeah, kind of finding the join button and all of that. Maybe I'm stating the obvious, but I've never tried joining my own channel. So these problems that people have are really hard for me to replicate. Oh, that's 3 minutes. And that's pitiful. What a sad way to end. Yeah, this stream ended with a whimper. What can I say? We gave it a go. We gave it a shot. Should probably have quit 20 minutes ago. Should already be in a playlist. YouTube nowadays is a game who has the strongest clickbait titles and mainstream content format. Amazing artists like Steve Houston get 2,000 views in their videos. Yes, and I frankly refuse to do the clickbait thing for the most part, although if I ever decided to actually get some videos up, maybe I would change my mind. But I kind of pride myself in this being a bit of a clickbait-free zone, for the most part. Right, I think, have I done clickbaity stuff? I hope, if I have, I hope I've kept it, you know, within the boundaries of good taste, let's say. But yes, I'm not going to play that game. I would sooner fade away into obscurity than become one of those clickbaity content creators. No interest in that, and that doesn't appeal to me on any level. I would rather just not do it. But if you want clickbait-free content, you've come to the right place. Second part works just fine with save. I'm sorry, Lulu, I'm not understanding the... There is a something button next to clip. I'll have a look. Well, I can't look. There is a button next to share. Yeah, but can someone save it to a favorites list? I don't even know what that means. I thought you could just save it to a playlist, right? Save is sometimes hidden and made into that. Okay. I would have thought it was the same thing. Yeah, favorites, Margot. Oh, you don't have favorites, you just have playlists and watch later. No problem, Lulu. It's all good. This is how the world ends, with a whimper. Well, this stream at least, yes. I highly recommend you doing the clickbait thing within reason. Kind of needed, I know, but it goes against every fiber in my being, Lulu. This is the problem. But I'm gonna have to do something. I think the right Achilles heel is rendered very well. Is that the time? Thanks, Rick. I understand about the clickbait thing, but strong banner photos for videos are essential. Yeah, I know. It's all exhausting, frankly. And I just don't have the, I don't have the energy. I've got too many other things I'm trying to do with my life. It works. I saved it to playlists. I do not know what favorites is. Thanks, Lulu. Yeah, look, it was just a random comment I got from someone and it just made me wonder if there was an issue. Yes, you can add it to favorites and other playlists. Jack, thank you. Guys, no, the stream was wonderful. Janik, you know what? The conversation was certainly wonderful. And the conversation usually is. The drawing can be hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the conversation was wonderful. In most part to you guys, because you guys make it happen. Without you guys, there is no stream, as I always say, but it's true. Thanks so much. Do me a favor, please hit the like button on the way out the door if you wouldn't mind, or the dislike button if you feel so inclined. I don't care. Just hit a button. Apparently it helps, and I don't think it really matters which one you hit, believe it or not. That was a bit of fun. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. You got me through a bit of a funk today, to be honest, and I appreciate that. We will be back Monday. Not sure what we're going to do. Will we continue the head discussion? Will we go back to hands? Will we do animals? Probably not animals just yet. I still need to practice. But whatever it is, we will be here. 5 p.m. London time, 5 p.m. BST. So whatever time that is, wherever you are, please, you know, try and come along. I will see you then. In the meantime, everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you on Monday. Cheers. Bye now.